Hello, everyone. It's the time no one's been waiting for. Our time to discuss Justice League. Not
Hey.
Zack Snyder's, but the Justice League.
This is my favorite movie.
Yeah, sure. Okay, whatever. This is Press Play again. I'm just kidding. I'm just joshing you guys out there. If you like this movie, you're allowed to like it, I guess.
I guess.
What's up, though? I'm Bailey, as always, and joining with me today is Omar Zaki and Matthew Austin.
Do you guys?
Also, I would like to warn everyone, just in case, I have had terrible allergies all day. So if I end up having like a sneezing attack,
Omar's dead.
do your best to ignore me. Also,
Look at
Omar's
my
choking.
fucking lip, dude.
Oh,
there we
no.
go.
Oh, God. He does this sometimes.
He like stuffs his face with whatever he's eating. Like right before this, he was eating like mac and cheese or something, and he's just like slurping it down right before we start this thing. And we're like, "You ready to roll?" And he's like, "Yeah," with a mouthful of food.
Oh, my God.
That's usually how it goes. But hey, what's up, guys? We're so excited to be doing this countdown, honestly. The countdown to the Snyder Cut. And we finally have gotten through the hardest part, and that's watching the first version of this movie.
Hopefully.
But before we get into everything, I might as well tell you, you can follow us on Twitter @AgainPress and Instagram @PressPlayAgain. And by the time you listen to this and you go to these, we will have something posted. Yay! It's
For once.
exciting. It's been only like 2 months, but we've been planning. We've been trying to get all this in order and make it like kind of cool and not weird. And I don't know. We've been working on it. So
Not
go
easy.
follow us on our social medias because we're going to be updating and interacting with all the people who want to be a part of this little life we're living right now, reviewing movies and shows and all that good shit. But if you also want to listen to us instead of watching us, you can, and that would be on Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, and Apple Podcasts, which you should definitely go give us 5 stars and leave comments, and we will comment back if you can do that on Apple Podcasts. I don't know.
People are figuring it out, Bailey. Mike Finley, I think is his name. He's commenting on our Lord of the Rings videos. We're having an interesting conversation.
Shout out to Mike.
Shout out to Mike. I don't know why he only comments on the first one, Fellowship of the Ring. Like, come on, dude. Watch our other ones, too. Like,
There's 2 more movies.
yeah. But no, so.
But yeah, so comment and we'll comment back because we like to talk to people, because if not, we only talk to each other, and you know, we always know how each other feel about things. So yeah, we have rounding out the countdown before we get to the actual Snyder Cut. We're gonna be having our hype episode, and we're gonna have a little special guest on that one for us. So join us for that. That'll be next Thursday.
Who's it gonna
we'll
be?
Discussing all the hypeness
Zack Snyder
revolved
himself?
around Zachy himself.
That would
Zack
be huge
is-
for the podcast.
I think his spirit will just be with us or something. I don't know. And then also, big day tomorrow. It's gonna
Oh
be,
my goodness.
or not. Well, yeah, tomorrow. It's gonna be the finale of Fridays with Wanda and Vision. I'm sad to see them go. You hate to to see them go, but you love to watch them leave. Eh? I butchered that.
I don't know what that means, but
It's when you like looking at people's
I
asses.
think it's right.
No, I'm kidding.
Boom.
Vision's got a
Um,
good ass. I mean,
I know, right?
come on.
I've turned around on him. Like I'm feeling Vision. I'm feeling it.
But
But yeah, so we have that finale coming Friday evening. Join us for that because it's gonna be a doozy. I can already imagine. So yeah, but we're done with all of that hullabaloo. We can get into the big business.
We got more
which
important
is
things to talk about.
Justice League. The one and only Justice League, which still says by Zack Snyder, but it's Zack Snyder / Joss Whedon.
Is that like the
starring
most fucking disrespectful
Affleck.
thing a movie can do? Like-
It is. We got Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Gal Gadot, Ezra, Jason Momoa, Ray Fisher, all them, all the big business, all the big bad, and I meant big bad when I said big bad. No, I'm just kidding.
I meant
But
it.
so yeah, we're gonna roll into our first reactions to this movie. I think this would be probably the second time all of us have watched this movie. So I'm gonna start with Omar because he's our leading DC guy, you know?
Utter defeat.
what to say? What can I say? No, okay. Listen, there were a couple moments I liked. I just want to real quick compare this to, we were talking about it right before we hopped on, Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker, I walked out of Rise of Skywalker thinking it was the best thing I've ever fucking seen, right?
Hmm,
Like,
I
I
didn't know
felt
that.
like, "Oh my god, I just watched this." I was hot and heavy,
Hold
and I
on
was
to
like,
that.
"Dude, it was crazy." Yeah, right? Obviously, after I saw it a few more times, I'm like, "Okay, I have problems with it, whatever, whatever, whatever." But the one common thing I had with Rise of Skywalker and Justice League, it doesn't feel like it follows up well from Last Jedi, just like Justice League doesn't follow up from Batman versus Superman.
Mhm.
And that to me was just a huge disconnect with the characters, with certain things that we're going to talk about later in the episode. This refers back to Matthew's favorite transition of all times, apparently. Last movie, because that was kind of a throwaway, right? They completely threw that scene away with Justice League and how Superman comes back. But yeah, like I said, we're going to talk about that. So there were a couple of things I really liked. I liked the Clark and Lois stuff, the Clark and Martha stuff. You know, those small scenes that we have like here and there once he returns. I
The little
enjoyed
things.
those. Right. Honestly, it was the
Always
little
shout
things.
out.
That's the thing though. Like all the like silly relationships, like Bruce and Flash, whatever. You know, when they meet, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, like just like Cyborg having Wonder Woman to kind of in a sense look up to. You know, since his relationship with his dad was kind of off or whatever. So it was just like moments like that. Alfred with everyone. Alfred's relationship with everyone in this movie, like the quirky one-liners, this that. Like I loved Alfred, dude. He was probably my favorite part of this movie. Well, my favorite character of this movie. Um,
That says a lot if Alfred is your
I
favorite
mean,
character
The
in this
Justice
movie.
League.
I mean, dude, it wasn't Batman. This is the worst take of Batman I've ever seen. I'm just gonna say that for Batman to be a comedic relief in any sort of movie, that's not my fucking Batman, dude. So yeah, I'm gonna save the stuff that I didn't like for later. But no, I mean there were a couple of things I liked. I'll say that like with Rise of Skywalker, as much as you know, I felt like it wasn't epic or whatever. There's a lot of redeemable things in that movie, and there was a lot of things that happened that are probably some of my favorite Star Wars moments. I can't say the same about Justice League. I can't say anything was epic. I can't say anything happens in the movie to where I walked out thinking like, dude, like holy shit, I can't believe that fucking happened. Like I can't believe I just saw that on screen. Right? Even
Right.
even when they were like that last fight was so stupid. Was like even how they bring Superman when it's supposed to be like this big epic just
Superman's
holy shit
fucking
moment.
back.
Yeah,
And it's
but
like,
how they bring him? Like they jump started a fucking car? Like
you're not
nah,
wrong.
man. Nah. So yeah, that's my initial reaction or whatever you want to call
All
it.
right, all right. I can feel a lot of the pain in your
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
How'd you feel, Matt?
Um okay, so there's this moment in this movie. Probably the smartest human being in the movie. It's a line he says. First off, Batman said he's driving at the end of this movie and he says something like, "Alfred, this wasn't the plan." And Alfred responds to him. He's like, "No, sir, it's not. It's the team." It's like it's like a wink at the audience, like, you're damn right this was not the plan. This has nothing to do with any of the fucking 6 hours of DC shit you watched before this. This is something totally different,
Yeah.
disconnected, discombobulated. Fucking, this movie just feels like it's
A
so
shit show.
yeah. I mean, you can tell that there's two directors. I don't care they put Zack Snyder's name on this. And you know what? Blame it. He has some of the blame for this. We're gonna see exactly how much in a couple weeks. But like, I don't get how anything could have ever been stamped on this and said, yeah, go put this in front of people's faces that have been waiting for a Justice League movie. I get they were trying to follow the MCU stuff. They were trying to make this a totally different take on the two movies before it. But there's so much left over of the threads of that. And there's so much of it still in it, even though they put a terrible fucking vibrant, colorful filter over the whole movie and make it look like horrible. There's so much of Zack Snyder stuff in this, and it's just none of the threads connect. None of the threads are seen through. All this other dumb stuff. Superman's got a fucking invisible mustache on his face. It's just, I don't know, guys. When this movie started, I'm not gonna lie. First 15 minutes, I was like, this isn't good, but I'm enjoying this more than I remembered enjoying it. I was like, was I wrong? Is it just a fleeting thought? And as it goes on, it's too much. Even if you sit down, ready for the ride, ready for the breakneck pace, like everything's gonna happen so fast, there's gonna be no context to anything. Even expecting it, it gets out of hand so fast. It's like this is based on all the buildup. This is what we got. It's terrible. But there's reason to be happy, guys. We're living in a fucking alternate universe where,
Oh.
oh no, what happened to Bailey? We lost her.
Hey,
Oh, she's
guys.
back. Are you there?
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It was
Yeah, y'all all froze, and I was like, shit.
Oh no, it's okay. But yeah, so thankfully, you know what? We're getting a Snyder cut of this. Life is good. Maybe we'll see. But yeah, I hated it, guys. I hated it.
Oh, my
Okay, so I've had a journey with this movie because this was ever since I saw it once in theaters, and this is the first time seeing it since then. I watched it by myself, like in the middle of the day one day, because I don't know why. I was just like, I'm just gonna watch this now, I guess. Then I go on this journey of being like, there must be reasons why people like the Justice League. Like, why people are so connected to these people, because this is not a movie that should introduce that for anyone. So I went and I started watching all the Justice League animated movies. I've literally watched like Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, Justice League Dark, Justice League Flashpoint. I watched Justice League versus Teen Titans. Like, I've watched so many, and they're all so fucking good. Like, they're so great, which is even worse for my opinion on this movie because I'm now watching the Justice League show because I'm like, I fell in love with this. And that's what's so crazy to me. It's like, some reason it compelled me to go do this. Then, also being crazy, 2 days later, Matt's watching it, and I was like, well, I guess I want to hang out. So I go there, and I watched Justice League again.
I warned her. I said, I don't think you're
So
going to do Yeah, 'cause
I've watched it twice.
I had to watch it last night. She watched it like 2 days ago, and she was going to come over last night, and I was like, I still haven't watched Justice League. Like, I don't know if you want to do this to yourself.
I've watched it twice.
And she did it.
And my opinion did not change upon second viewing.
That's very surprising.
This movie,
Shocker.
I feel like I'm gonna have a lot of controversial takes on characters in this movie because people that I liked in the first time I saw it, I did not like when I watched it again, and
Like
I
who?
ended up like the
Superman.
Flash. I wasn't a huge fan of.
Oh, you're talking about the first time you saw the Justice League, you mean?
Yeah, like the first time I saw
Oh,
it
I
in the
got you.
theaters, I thought Flash was funny and stuff, and then when I watched it again this time, I was like, this is not funny. Like, this is not hitting it for me.
Yeah.
I don't find him as charming as everyone was claiming and how I found in the first one. I actually really fell in love with Cyborg, and I was like, Ray Fisher actually is fantastic. And after watching the animated movies, I'm like, he also plays Cyborg really, really well. Like, compared to what every other version you see of him. So I super loved that. I was fine with some of the stuff. Hated everything they did with Batman. Hated it. I was like,
Yes,
Batman's
thank you.
just a giant joke in this movie, and it's not.
Comedic
You
relief, man.
didn't like when he
yeah.
was laying in the field after they revived Superman, and he just looked like he had like leg cramps, and he's just rolling around like, oh man.
He's like, oh, that made me bleed or something, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
that really
oh
did
my
make me bleed.
god! Like, when has Batman ever made little funny quips?
There's
like,
a moment
ever.
to stay on the
And-
scene because I don't want to ever come back to it. But there's a moment where when Superman's there and he lifts Batman up into the sky, he's holding Batman up by like his cheeks. Why?
Yeah. I feel
That's
like
not a
there's
way to
just
hold
so-
a man.
There's just so many things in this movie that I don't even find entertaining. And it's really disappointing because compared to BVS, this movie feels like it's not even connected, like in any sort of way or form.
doesn't.
Like, it feels like this should have been the movie to lead up to BVS. BVS felt like such a big event, and like the end fight felt like a end all be all type of fight. The end fight here felt like nothing. Like, there was no stakes. You didn't care about anything that was happening. Watching this poor little family suffer through whatever they were suffering through didn't change my opinion. And it's not because I didn't like the family. It's just the way they were showing it didn't feel like anything was really in danger. Like, they were kind of scared, but the dad was just sitting there holding a baseball bat, and they were just like in their house, and then nothing really happened to them, and then they get in a car and they escape, and you're like, okay. And then like,
it was pointless.
it's just like the way they chose
it was
to
just
do
that
the
one
end
family,
battle.
like
right, and
one
that's the
family
thing.
lives in this fucking hell.
Right.
It's just like the
right.
way they were trying to lead up to this big bad event. It was so lackluster. That's like the perfect word to describe this movie, like lackluster. It's just, how is this a superhero movie? And how is this supposed to be when we are introduced to some of the most important, amazing, cool characters in comics, like, ever? and this is the way we're introduced to them. It's disappointing. So
Yeah.
yes, I was very disappointed in this movie. Just as I was when I saw it in theaters, but I was even more so now. So that's how I feel about this movie. So yeah, I do I do think, since we're about to get into probably tearing this movie apart, for the people out there who
No.
really enjoy this movie, I'm so sorry for you, and I'm so glad you can find joy in things like this. So maybe we can just say the few things we did like in this movie so they can at least get some enjoyment out of this, because I'm sure y'all have some things y'all liked in it.
Yeah, for sure. I liked that it was full screen. I really like when movies do that. Did y'all notice that? Did y'all watch it on HBO Max?
That was the first thing Matt said. He's like, "Oh, it's full screen."
Yeah, there's no black bars. That was kind of cool. I was like, oh, you can see a lot of this. It doesn't look good, but you can see a lot of it. Things that I liked. Is that supposed to be this hard?
I'll say, I had a few things I liked, I can say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I was saying, and it's so sad because it's mostly based off of clothing. I think Bruce's outfits when he's not Batman is like super cool. He like looks tight as hell.
He got those
Same with Alfred.
pointed shoes.
The wingtips.
Yeah, the wingtips. Those were nice.
Alfred too looked fresh as hell. He's like in combat boots and like a sweater vest, and you're like,
coolest
this
character
is like.
in the movie, man.
I was gonna say, speaking of
tight.
Alfred, fucking Alfred, and I'd even say Jim Gordon. They probably combined for like 2.5 minutes of screen time, but I thought every scene they were in was pretty cool.
Jim Gordon in this movie was completely pointless, man.
Oh,
Very pointless. Very pointless.
He is in 3 shots total, but one of those shots he has no words. It's just his face, and then the other 2 shots he maybe says a sentence, and that's like it. And you're like,
I
cool.
just think.
Why get such a big actor to play him?
I think
if you're not gonna have him do anything.
Well, I think the plan. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Omar would probably know this the most. But when this movie came out, was there still plans for a Ben Affleck solo Batman movie? I think so,
Absolutely.
right? And so I think
it was
they were trying
to
to
be a trilogy,
right? So I think they were still trying to flesh out the universe. They already have Alfred. They're like, let's put Jim Gordon in it, even if he's barely in it, because you're going to be seeing more of him.
Well, here's a problem with that though, right? Because Warner Bros. Mandated that like the movie couldn't be over 2 hours, right? Justice League couldn't be over 2 hours.
Dude, they nailed it to the second.
Right. It was 119 minutes. Here's a problem with that. Okay, it's a Justice League movie. You're introducing 3 new characters: Aquaman, Flash, Cyborg. Out of those 3, Cyborg probably gets the best treatment, right? Aquaman, we don't really get much with. Even that one scene where he's like in the ocean or whatever. It's not like that wow or whatever. Even though later we see, Aquaman was like an actual, like it was a movie,
Yeah.
But yeah, that one scene you see, it's not really much. Flash, I mean, the scenes he had with his dad, I honestly super enjoyed, but we didn't need them. Like you could have saved those scenes for a Flash movie.
Sure, yeah.
So it just, like the fact that they made a Justice League movie under 2 hours when the first 2 movies were obviously over 2 hours, it's impossible to fucking do that. And that's why
I agree, just because like fuck Warner Brothers then, and if anybody from Warner Brothers actually ever listens to this, I'm kidding.
Yeah, fuck
can
you.
hire me or something. But all I'm saying is like, why choose to do that with the movie that has the most important characters in it? Like it makes no sense.
They did that. I mean, they pandered to what they thought was fans, but the truth is, when you get to this point, like, okay, we just did a over an hour episode on Batman v Superman a week ago, right? Was that a week ago? That feels like a month ago.
Yeah.
But okay, so that movie didn't get good critical reviews, but you look at the 3 of us, we criticize it for what it was, but there's a lot of stuff in that we enjoyed, and there are people that like that movie even more than at least me, and I think even that you guys, like, they forgot who their fans of these movies were. Like, it's not the critics. I mean, that ship sailed, dude. Like, even Man of Steel, we think that movie's fantastic. I don't think it doesn't even have like a fantastic critic score, and like people adore that movie.
Right.
So you're not like, there's no point at that point to pander to critics and people that are like, don't try to get the score up. I mean, the people were invested in this Snyder universe, like 100% invested in it. And again, I'm so glad we live in this timeline where we're going to see some type of conclusion to that now. But yeah, at the time of them deciding to go fucking haywire with this and just change it up, And granted, we're leaving out the important part about how there's a tragedy with Zack Snyder's
Right,
daughter,
which is
right? And
unfortunate.
so he
right.
couldn't finish it. If that hadn't happened, I don't know what necessarily would have happened with this. I think I had read that Warner Brothers didn't like the 4-hour cut, obviously, so they would have made him do stuff differently. But bringing Joss Whedon in when they had that opportunity to just try to. I mean, they tried to mimic Marvel 100%, but they had none of the
Well,
build up, like Omar said.
I think this serves as like the Age of Ultron of the DCEU. This
Yeah.
is it.
It
Like,
does,
this
but with
movie
none
is
of the
Age
build up,
Ultron.
which makes it even
Right.
crazier.
That and the fact that it's not going to translate as well with these characters, right? Because like
Yeah.
the Avengers, the MCU characters, they're already like a lighter tone. They're already like easier to kind of like have in that scene. Whereas like these characters, and yeah, exactly like you said,
And they both
we know
had like
nothing
2
about this
movies
Flash.
each
Yeah.
before.
Right, exactly. Whereas here, like we had a nice 3 minutes with the Flash asking Bruce like, "What's your superpowers?" "I'm
Yeah.
rich."
I'm rich.
Okay, like
Best line.
that's a
actually
really
did-
good lead up.
I actually did like his little "I'm rich" thing. I also wanted to bring up, because since we do a podcast, I thought it was really funny. Let's just talk about the opening scene real quick, because I feel like that's
Oh
something
yeah, because
that
those
needs
kids
to
were
be
filming a
talked about.
podcast, right?
Those children sounded like they were 5 years old.
Mhm.
And they say they're filming for a podcast. And I was like, interesting. Okay.
Bailey,
why
not everyone
choose
waits till
choose,
later in
like
life.
why choose like the corniest childlike voices? You know what I
Well,
mean?
that
Like
was Josh Whedon all the way.
it's just like that was so
Wait, he was the
like-
voice?
I know,
No,
that's
I'm saying
what I
that
thought.
was his. I don't know. No.
It's like, do you get what I'm saying? Though?
No,
It's
yeah,
just, like,
100%.
Yeah.
too on the nose, like too like, oh my god, look at these children looking up to Superman. And not only that, but Superman is acting so like over the top corny and like, I'm here for justice and blah
So-
blah blah. And you're just like, why?
I wanted to know how Omar feels about that because he is the Superman guy here. I know a lot
Right,
of
right.
people's problems with the 2 movies before this is a much darker, more tormented take on Superman. He doesn't have those moments of just, saving the cat out the tree, bringing him down, being interviewed. My guess is that's what that scene was supposed to go towards. I mean, did that do anything for you? Like,
I super fucking hated everything with Superman in this movie.
Okay, all right.
They,
That's
if
nice to know.
if we got the Superman initially, sure, I understand. And
Just
then
doesn't
obviously we're
feel
gonna see
right.
moments with him and Lois, but do you expect me to fucking believe Superman's been saving cats off of a fucking tree since the events of like, or just in between Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman?
right.
No, like at what point did you guys like think that was the Superman we had? At what point
The
in the
acting,
last movie?
Yeah,
the
it-
acting
It's
straight
that
up
dude.
looked.
It's Superman.
I was just gonna say the acting straight up sounded and looked like he was doing a commercial.
I mean,
Well-
dude, at no point are we led to believe Superman is that kind of Superman in this universe. Even with Batman, like we get like the first time we're introduced to him, he's full of this like rage and he just wants to fuck everything up. And sure, he's a little too dark, whatever. But then in this movie, you expect me to also believe he's forgotten about everything that's happened, like over the past 20
Right.
years. He's forgotten everything that happened with Robin, Joker, Superman, fucking like, dude, it's like nothing happened. It's
Yeah.
like he
And,
was
like,
completely fine.
Superman's also dead at this point, so he's
Right,
supposed to be
right.
even more upset because he's
Yeah.
like probably thinking he's the cause of everything, clearly.
Right.
And we had this discussion with BVS where we were discussing about how I was like, he's so too dark, like it's ridiculous.
Mhm.
And then they somehow completely 180 and bring him back to like, oh, I'm gonna drink some whiskey.
Gee
with
golly,
Gal
I'm
Gadot,
Batman.
and like I'm gonna make little quirps. And like whenever Superman does that one thing where he's just like, oh, you didn't bring me back because you liked me. And then Batman's like, oh, well, I don't not. And you're just like,
Yeah,
what?
I hated that, dude. That it feels like a Family Guy version of Batman.
It
Like
does.
Oh, it
something I would see on the fucking
does.
Cartoon Network. And
Oh,
I
and
hate
it-
that, dude. I hate the one thing I do like. It's like Bruce Wayne honestly wasn't the worst in this movie. Even
No.
at the end of the movie when Clark, like when they're on the farm and he's like, how'd you afford the ranch back? Whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, I bought the bank. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought
The
that was
Bruce-
cool. Like it was
No,
funny.
that's
you know?
Bruce Wayne.
I
That's
think-
what's
Yeah, right,
cool.
right.
I'll say like one positive I had of rewatching this movie because this is the only second time I've seen it. But the first time I thought in my head I was like, this feels like Ben Affleck totally phoning it in, and maybe there are parts of that still, but I still think somehow I think maybe the best acting he's done in this role is in this movie, and it's when he's Bruce Wayne. It's
Bruce.
It's
no, absolutely.
yes,
I
it's
agree.
the Bruce
Yes.
Wayne moments. It's the he had like a very when him and Wonder Woman are kind of like yelling back
Yeah,
and forth.
yeah, arguing, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, like that to me like felt like him really digging deep and like kind of capturing an essence of Bruce Wayne. But yeah, then it's totally undermined by the like everything
his
about him's got to
Batman
be a
portrayal.
joke. And
Yeah.
and it's I get it because I laughed at most of them, but I'm laughing almost in like oh my
It's not-
god,
that's not a good
like
thing, though.
yeah,
That's not a
not in
good
like I
thing,
don't
bro.
want to be laughing at him doing this though.
Yeah.
I get what you're going for, but I mean,
You know what I want to do too? Since we're already kind of talking about it, let's talk about the entrances we get from the new ones that we don't already know about. So it's going to be Cyborg, Flash, Aquaman. That's like when we're all getting introduced to them, and how we're introduced to them isn't as grand or epic as they deserved.
Do you want my honest opinion?
Go ahead.
hit me
I
with
do.
it.
Lay it on me.
honestly, here's the thing. None of those characters are epic or anything crazy. Anyways, so I like the introductions.
I feel
I
like
did. I
Cyborg
didn't.
definitely is.
You don't
No,
think
I mean,
they're
everything
epic?
I've-
he's not really.
I mean,
No.
everything I've seen in the animated movies, I'm like, dude, Cyborg is fucking awesome. So
He's a lot more popular now, but I mean, it wasn't always like that. I mean, yeah, a lot of
Okay.
people like Cyborg, but he's not like a Superman or anything like that, right? So I mean, yeah, okay, the introductions. A lot of people, I guess, wanted more or whatever. I didn't mind it. It's what happens after those like introductions, though, right?
Well,
Because
yeah.
it's not like I said, Cyborg got a decent treatment to
Mhm.
some extent. But like with the Flash, right? We know nothing. Like you guys, I don't think know much about like the Flash's
I
character.
know nothing about Flash.
Right, and that sucks though because like they don't make you really care for this character,
Well,
and he's
and
a really
that's-
cool character. There's like a lot to like about the Flash.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean,
See,
I literally
you know?
I watched Flashpoint Paradox
Mhm.
after I watched this, and I was like,
It
completely
was your
different.
first time.
Yeah, and I was like, completely different Flash than what we're
mhm.
seeing in this movie.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I get he's supposed to be young and stuff, so I understand that, but I don't know. It's like I started
I think
thinking
he's
the
too
second
young.
time I watched it with Matt, I realized, oh, like the Flash doesn't do anything to help ever. Like it's
Dude,
always
he does nothing.
He has to learn
the
how to
only
save
thing he
people.
does is jumpstart the water for Superman to come back
Superman,
alive.
like what
Other
the
than that,
fuck
he's
was
just,
that
like,
too though.
Superman- Superman's
He's just,
a
like,
fucking
tripping
car
over
engine.
his feet and stuff, and like I'm just like, how did they figure out to?
Do you guys know how
jumpstart
fast the
him.
Flash is? Like, do you guys know
1,000
how?
miles an hour.
Dude, he could be actually pretty close.
Oh fuck yeah.
Are you serious? 1,000 miles per hour, really?
Yeah,
Jesus
1,000.
Christ.
Oh no,
No,
I was wrong.
Listen,
Oh, fuck.
he's super fucking fast. One time in the comics, he literally explained he could be on every single fucking square foot on Earth at the same time. That's how fast he is.
That's
Jeez.
crazy because like,
Like,
you don't.
dude, yeah, you don't get that. And
No.
like when he's fucking at the end of the movie, you know, when
when
he's
he's
like
fucking at the end.
with the truck or whatever, with the truck, and then Superman catches up to him after like showing up 20 minutes late. Explain that to me. Explain the science behind that,
Right,
or the
because
math.
what does that do? And I get again, like maybe he's not supposed to have his powers fully developed. I don't know, but like
Yeah, I don't know.
it's like one of those things where what's his point if Superman's just as fast as?
I mean, they
Like, if-
basically they Peter Parkered him. Like they tried to make him a version
Yes,
of like
that's-
young
yeah.
Peter
But it
Parker.
was less
and I don't.
likable.
Well, yeah, and I don't think
Exactly,
that Flash.
honestly.
Again, I don't know everything about him, but he just doesn't seem like that's a one-to-one compare. Like you know what I mean? Like he's not your Peter Parker. He needed to be something
No.
more. And
Yeah,
and so that's the thing.
absolutely.
So and even like about the thing about the characters maybe don't even deserve like or don't need these epic entrances. Like I get some of them are smaller characters, but I mean from what I understand about Cyborg, like he has a fucking intense backstory, and that they really fucked that up in this. Like they brush it off to like one word, and I imagine the Snyder cut we're gonna get more of that. But so like the only one I really agree with that like who really cares because the stigma around him has always been that is Aquaman, right? Like
Right.
Aquaman has always been the butt of every joke, and that's probably
Yeah.
the only like fantastic thing this movie did. And it wasn't even the movie; it's just casting a fucking beautiful human being like Jason Momoa
right.
to make Aquaman that cool. I mean that elevates him already.
I will say
Um,
that's
Yeah.
like another thing I actually enjoyed in this movie. I know it was over the top, but with these movies, it's like why not be over the top? But it's not even when you're introduced to him. It's the second scene you get with him where
Yeah,
he saves that
same
guy
here.
on the boat, and then he just like is chugging whiskey in slow mo, like to
Yeah.
rock music as he's like walking into the waves.
It's-
it's the coolest fucking scene in the whole movie.
He's such a badass dude.
It's
yeah.
super fun. Like that scene is super fun, and it's weird because that's the vibe you can tell they were going for in this whole movie. But they barely ever hit it, and it's also the trilogy that set this up, or the two movies before this weren't that fun. So it already feels
Right.
out of place. But I agree with what you're saying, Bailey. Like that's the scene that worked. Most
did.
of the rest of it just didn't really. So
Right.
I feel like Wonder Woman is really good in this movie too, and I think that has most to do with Gal Gadot's like portrayal of her.
Yeah.
Um and what she's given to work with, because I think they always do her combat and everything. It's always done really well, and she always seems like she's just carrying the whole team. So you're just like, what's the point of Batman at this point? Cuz she's got like everything under control pretty much. But and that's like so hard for me to even say cuz I love Batman so much, but like this movie, it was just like at the end, you almost feel hurt because you're like, oh my gosh, this person I
He
love is
was
a giant
neutered
joke.
in this fucking movie. He was literally
Yeah.
he had his balls clipped. That's literally what happened with Batman,
And
dude.
that's probably
Because
how
once again,
I was gonna say that's probably how Ben Affleck actually felt when
yeah,
he
I
was
mean,
doing
there's no
this.
way he didn't feel like that, dude. I mean, I know after this movie, he pretty much wanted out of the trilogy. I'm
Hmm.
not sure if he had like signed a contract or whatever, but he was pretty much like, look, I know I'm not doing this forever, so I'm just trying to find a good way to exit like this universe. He straight up says that like, right
right.
after this movie, and I wonder why.
Well, yeah,
Look, he was neutered. Fucking Zack Snyder. As much as I don't want to blame Zack Snyder for this movie, you've got to understand like he 80% of this movie was him, right?
Right.
But that 80 like of that 80%, I'll take an additional step and say like 80% of that was Warner Bros. Saying like, look, you've got to do this for the fans, thinking, okay, that's what they want. They want lighter tone, but you can't do that. You can't go from
mm,
what we saw in the first two movies to Batman cracking jokes. Like you can't fucking do that.
I
Like
I
will
come
mean,
say
on, man.
too, with Lois and Clark, it was great for certain parts, and then other parts felt
it,
like the first Thor
yeah, I agree with that. That's a
romance.
really
And
good
I was
comparison.
really upset about that because like I said with the BVS stuff, I like loved Lois Lane and Superman
Mm.
in that movie. I really believed their romance. And then you mean to tell me he comes back to life and her first instinct isn't to like, I know she saves him and they like fly off together, but then they land and then she just starts asking questions. And I'm like, if the person you love just came back to life, you'd be like dropping to your knees, bawling your eyes out, just like
Yeah,
so happy that they're there. And like
Reporter, man.
the way she
Reporters,
was acting, it just felt so,
it wasn't believable, right? Like at
yeah,
all.
it
Yeah.
felt
And
so, I don't know, like she wasn't in love anymore.
that's
I
what I
don't
mean.
know. It was
It was
weird.
this whole rushed take to everything. I mean, granted, a movie shouldn't have to be 4 hours to tell all these
That's
stories, but when the movies before it had all these threads too, and this whole
yeah.
this whole story is super fucking complicated. It's weird. At the end of it, people that love it, like you're hard pressed to argue that this would be like a fantastic trilogy, but people could still love it. But yeah, the where we end up with this is them trying to rush all these things together and make them make sense in like a more traditional good movie way. And
Mhm.
you just
Yeah.
can't do that. You can't do that with what was set
That's
up
literally the
before. It's just
keyword right
not
there.
possible. It's
Yeah.
yeah,
It
because
was rushed.
yeah, I mean, we know like Amy Adams, like she's a great actress. So why does she seem like
Yeah.
she's having such a hard time acting this movie? Because she probably is like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why am I
Yeah.
having to say this? Like, none of this makes sense. And even to the point about Ben Affleck too. Like, I know he was tired from all kinds of stuff, but imagine that man then films this fucking like actual 4 hours of footage of the Snyder cut version of this movie, and then you get brought back in with another director that is chopping the movie up and changing all this stuff. Like, yeah, no shit, he was done with this after that. I mean, how could you not be? And
Right.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing too, man. Like this movie, obviously, like initially they were gonna do a Justice League 1, Justice League 2, and at some point they just kind of like you're like, fuck it, like, hey, Zack Snyder is not here anymore. This plot, I guess, that they had in mind, because yeah, obviously they had a whole nother plot. Um, they kind of condensed it in a way to where they felt like they had to rush through the first movie, and it's like, no, you didn't. You really didn't. You could have like slowed things down a lot. Like in my mind, you could have introduced like if you guys wanted an epic introduction like Flash and Cyborg, you could have like really slowed it down, had those introductions for all three characters, right? Had them integrate with Bruce and Wonder Woman, and then literally end that movie with Superman getting resurrected, right?
Definitely.
See,
And them
and
fighting Superman.
this is why if Omar, who is a DC fan, can just fix this movie that quickly by saying this is all you need to fucking do,
All
all
you
you
gotta
needed
do.
to do, And you would make so much money because all these DC fans out there that love these characters are going to pay so much money to go see them being introduced. And then you don't get, which granted, that would be like really hard to wait an entire movie to see Superman come back to life. But think of how epic of like an ending that would be. Then you make even more money the next movie because you know Superman's alive again. And it's just like, why not take the time? Why these characters deserve time
did.
and
You
love,
guys
and
want to
they
know what's
didn't
sad?
get it.
Y'all want to know what's sad?
What?
The fact that we haven't mentioned the villain once.
I
And
know.
that shows how bad he
Oh,
fucking was.
Trust me,
dude.
that was the next thing on my
That
list.
just
Steppenwolf.
shows how bad he fucking was. And that's the thing, though. He could have been the one to bring Superman back, resurrect him, have him fight the Justice League. How badass would that have been?
So much cooler.
Like,
I didn't even
end the
think about
movie
that.
like that.
But that's the
Yeah.
thing. He never felt like a real threat. Like,
Pussy,
He
man.
doesn't
I was
feel
never scared of him. like
he straight up just does not feel like what was meant to be the big bad of this movie, and clearly we know that because
No. because Darkseid.
correct me if I'm wrong,
wasn't
they
even
still say
involved.
Darkseid in this movie, and then it's
Yeah.
just throwaway, nothing.
Steppenwolf for himself says like for Darkseid or something, but then nothing happens.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It was supposed to lead up to Justice League Part 2, and that's where we get Darkseid. But, like, at some point, you guys realize, okay, that's not what you're going for. So why even mention it? Just make Steppenwolf a badass. Just make him fucking do shit. Like, dude, that one scene where it's a flashback and it's like armies fighting him, and you know, like it was the Green Lantern people, Wonder Woman's people. We fucking see Zeus. Like that shit was cool, right? That honestly,
Mhm.
that scene was probably the most Zack Snyder scene in the entire movie. Anyways,
Well, it felt
Yeah.
like it. He loves those
Right.
slow-mo battles.
yeah, but like that was badass. Like Steppenwolf at his finest. But everything else, like in current time with the Justice League, like that last fight, it
Oh.
wasn't good. And then Superman shows up, and within a second, like, come on, man.
Yeah, no, I mean the last
what
fight
was
is
that?
just to me. And again, here's the thing: nothing we're saying is science. Obviously, like this is all of our opinions on it. But
Yeah,
like
just
Bailey said at the top,
opinions.
like some people like this movie. We love to know why you like it. So definitely we want to have a discussion about that. And I think like we said it before, there's stuff to like about it, but we're hoping that the full version of this is something a little bit better. But yeah, because I mean that final fight, what I was getting at is like it's so. It's almost like video gamey, and it doesn't even feel like I mean, it straight up looks like they just jumped into fucking like Doom, right? Like the video game Doom.
Yeah.
Like it just
just
everything is just
red.
so red and like on fire, and it's like they're trying to have fun, but they're not, and they're fighting demons, so it's weird. And I mean, all of these are good actors, and there's just the chemistry is hardly there at all. It's like I mean, you know what this feels like? The teamwork in this movie feels so just forced. It feels like the teamwork you would have with like coworkers at like a temp job. Like people you barely know and that
Yeah.
once this is over, like you're probably never going to see them again, and you're just like giving each other like the pats on the back, like, yeah, go Jeff. And
That's-
it's just like that none of this feels like the epicness that you would expect from these like really beloved characters, and that we had movies before for people like Batman and Superman, and the rest of them just dumped into it. It's just, to me, it's just such a disappointment.
You see, I wanted to add on to what you just said about like how it doesn't feel like a real team. It makes the end of this movie feel so not earned when Bruce walks into the
Yeah.
house and he's like, "We're gonna have a giant table. Make sure there's 6 chairs." And then Gal's like, "But room for more." And you're just, what?
Bitch, you're
So
you're
that's
trying to add more?
You're gonna see that from the animated series. I don't know if it's in any of the movies. I don't really remember. That's the Hall of Justice. It's supposed to be like
Right.
this epic fucking
Right.
and
And
I guess in
it's
this
not.
case it's
It's in
on
his
Wayne
mansion?
Manor
Yeah.
for some fucking reason.
Because it's supposed to be in
Um,
this like giant like building, and it's like this suite at the top. It's just this huge room. But that's what I'm saying. Nothing felt earned in this movie.
It
Like
didn't.
that didn't feel like, oh, this was the beginning of
agree.
the team. And
Yeah, I don't think
it's
anything.
supposed to feel like that. And it's talking of like how it was all red too. It's also one of those things where it does not feel like it's in the same universe as BVS.
No.
At all
No.
to me.
No,
Well,
no,
dude.
It looks
not-
like
no
a
way.
completely different
It's not the same
movie.
Batman.
well,
It's not.
Okay,
Right.
all of the ending stuff, all that whole how everything's red, and I might be wrong with this, but I was reading about it a little bit and seeing side by side comparisons. Like all of that is Joss Whedon. None of that was planned because they had footage in the original trailer for this movie that was Zack Snyder stuff of like Wonder Woman doing the exact same stuff she's doing in the red, and it's just like she's in a hallway. Like they completely took that
Wow.
CGI'd
Wait, you're
it
talking
and
about when they're
changed.
fighting and stuff?
Yeah, all the Steppenwolf stuff at the end. Like I don't think that's
Oh,
gonna
no,
be.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No,
Yeah,
not at all.
That's all your boy Whedon.
And a
See,
lot
and
of it
that's-
isn't even reshoots of stuff. It's just straight up taking like things out of context and digital, like, you know what I mean? Like using a computer to like totally change the context of the movie. And
Yeah.
it's just weird. It's like
And-
people can tell when they're
Dude,
being
he's a
fucked with.
bitch, man. And the fact that he fired the fucking
We're
composer
being
from
so-
Batman versus Superman. Like,
Oh,
dude,
did
he yeah, it wasn't the same composer. He
guess that
literally
makes
let him
sense.
go.
Hans Zimmer or the other? Was there two people for Batman v Superman?
No, it was what's his name? Junkie XL or whatever.
Oh,
whatever
okay,
you call
okay.
him.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
like dude,
remember
he was
hearing
given
about
this
that,
movie.
actually.
Here's the thing. Zack Snyder like wrote this movie.
Right.
The entire idea, like, it was his. Josh Whedon came in for the screenplay, but he was given this movie and told, like, hey, like, this is Zack Snyder's vision, just carry it out. And he starts by, okay, letting the composer go, and then changing just how things look. And he was going for that like MCU feel, except you can't do it with these characters, man. You just can't, especially with characters that don't have a backstory. The great thing about the MCU characters is that we know a lot of stuff about them.
Right.
Yeah.
These are characters we already love when we see them team up. We like, dude, when we saw Avengers, right? I was like, oh my god, Team Cap, Team Iron Man. Like you're
Right.
picking teams because you know these fucking characters.
And to be
Here,
fair, that
you
is
can't
the
pick
coolest.
any of these fucking
yeah.
characters, dude.
No, exactly, and that's the thing. Like, not even to get sidetracked, but that Avengers, like the first Avengers, is what it is because of what came before it. I mean, if you take the movie brass tacks and compare it to this, I still think it's better than this by a long shot. But that's not the strongest or finest moment of the MCU looking back now, at least in my opinion. And so I think that's just Joss Whedon, like he's talented in ways, but I just don't think he's got. He didn't have the chops to finish this off. I think it's so disrespectful that the whole narrative behind this too is like, well, this whole story was what Zack Snyder wrote. But the truth is like, no, you took a massive story he wrote and just chopped it to pieces and took out parts of it. And none of it makes sense anymore. And it doesn't really matter that you didn't add a lot to it. It's like, oh, this is all his stuff. But it's like, no, if none of it is presented in the way that it was supposed to, like,
Right.
I mean, take any
Yeah,
masterpiece
if
and
you
just
change the fucking music, or
Yeah.
it's as low as that. I mean, because
Yeah.
we know from the first two movies how the music plays into the movie, right? Like when
Yeah.
Superman comes back, right?
what's
the
hype.
fucking music, dude.
They played the Superman theme for a second when they walked in there, and I was like, oh,
For
boom,
us,
boom.
dude.
But yeah, that was it. That was
yes,
it.
But no, like make it more epic, man.
No, 100%.
And
Instead, he gets jump started
It's like
like a fucking car.
makes-
He's a
competitor.
car, bro.
it makes sense after all this time that Zach is finally like, I'm putting my version of this out. I do not care anymore. I'm finding a way to do it because I worked my ass off to get what I wanted out there for the story, and it's not there. I will say, after watching this movie twice now, I am nervous. I believe that Zack Snyder has a lot of stuff we haven't seen. I also really just hope the plot is completely different because the way the plot ended, like if the battle at the end is not better than what we saw, I'm gonna still probably be disappointed, if I'm being honest. Just because it didn't feel. I just can't imagine, like, unless they just completely reshot the entire end and like all the writing, all the acting was different. I don't like how they were acting.
I think most of the stuff at the end was not from.
I hope.
Yeah, I think
That's all I'm saying. It's like I'm slightly.
Yeah, I don't
nervous,
think so either.
Yeah.
But
And I'm pretty sure that whole last fight with Superman, he's like wearing the black suit the entire time and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be.
Oh,
It's gonna be a
well,
lot
that's
different.
good.
Well, we're also assuming. I mean, we got so much of this to get into next week, so I don't want to. I don't want
I
to
know.
ruin that
We don't need
conversation
to.
because I had a lot I was about to just go
We
into,
can-
but
Right. We could talk again. All of you that've been following this countdown, if you have been, clearly we could talk about this for like hours and hours on end. But we don't want to do that for your poor ears that have to listen to us yell
Aw.
about this. One last thing I want to ask Omar though, how'd you feel about the after credits scene when the Flash
Oh.
and Superman race?
that might be the worst part.
Okay, so there was two credit scenes. Okay, one of them
Right.
I felt really good about, and I thought was just wow. The other
Oh,
one
yeah.
I was like, I mean, if you guys are gonna do this, why not go all the way?
Yeah.
All right. And the
you
one
know, like the
where
freeze
I was
frame?
like, if you guys are gonna do this, what? No. Okay, so if you guys are gonna do this, why not go all the way? No, I did not want to see the race. That's fine. But in every fucking version of this race that you see, the movie,
Mhm.
the comic book, both are on foot. Why is Superman flying, man?
Because
Like,
he's
if
got
you
it.
do
He's
it even-
faster flying.
That's
Omar.
not true.
I didn't even
First of
think
That's
all.
what-
about that.
But
But
yeah,
that's-
I don't know.
if
That
he
kind of irked me.
flies
I'm not gonna
that-
lie.
I know, but
Because
the
it's such an iconic thing. It's even a comic book cover where it's like they're about to race and they're like on the line or whatever. It's such like an iconic. Like if you're gonna
Mhm.
do that, might as well go with the full vision, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But the second scene I thought was completely
Dope.
badass, even though now we
Fucking
know
Me
it's
awesome.
not leading
too.
anywhere.
It sucks though because I didn't realize until I started watching more of the animated stuff, and I also am like a huge fan of the Harley Quinn animated show.
Mhm.
So now, whenever I watched that scene, first of all, Lex so much better in this
Dude,
than he
yes,
was in the
yeah,
movie. He's
hmm
calmed down, and you are like,
yeah,
wow, this could have been a great Lex, but I
right.
digress. Um, but then he goes, well, we can make a league of our own. And that's when he's freaking creating Legion of Doom. And you're just like, holy
Yes,
shit, that was like a
I
really
know. I
cool
lost my
after
shit when I
credit
saw that,
scene.
man.
Like the after credit scene was better than the whole movie.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so it
100%.
was
Absolutely.
it's frustrating. It very much is. So, but
I just wanna bring this back real quick because you said something about I forgot what you were talking about, but you said it feels like it wasn't earned.
yeah.
And I want to bring this up because we didn't. The Batman's theme and the Superman theme, like from 1989.
Mhm.
You know how it's like supposed to be like just this. It's a badass theme, and
Mhm.
it's just so cool. Like when you hear, you're like, oh, okay, I love that. But neither Batman or Superman in this movie earned it, like
No.
at
No.
all, right?
No.
Like these, this is not our version of Batman. Like this is not anyone's Batman. This is not anyone's Superman. And I thought it was cool that they included that in there. Yeah, I mean, this really goes along with what you're saying. Nothing that happened in this movie, or even these seven uniting, felt earned because you expect me to believe that the world's about to end or whatever, and you go grab someone like the Flash with no experience, tripping over everything to fucking save like, come on.
How
Right,
long do
right.
we have? And it's like,
All
I
right.
think it's gonna happen by tonight. When they're talking about the end of the world, it's like whatever.
All right, guys. We're gonna calm down because although we're disappointed by this movie, the hype is still beyond real for this Snyder Cut, and we cannot wait to talk about it with y'all. So don't forget, next Thursday we got a hype episode for this Snyder Cut, discussing everything we hope's gonna be in the movie, what we want to change in the movie, what we think Zach's gonna do with it, with a special guest. So y'all come back and join us for that. It's going to be super fun because we cannot wait. We want to keep this hype train rolling. Choo choo, you know? um, and then, of course, come hit back up with us on Friday because we got Fridays with Wanda and Vision, the finale. It's gonna be so great and so sad because I'm gonna miss this show a lot. But don't forget, you can always follow us on social media so you can have updates of when we're posting shit, and that will be on Twitter at Again Press and Instagram at Press Play Again. And you can also listen to us on all the podcast services that I said in the beginning of the episode. So go back and listen to this whole thing again if you want to figure that out.
That'll help us.
Exactly. And comment on any of this stuff. I'm sure we pissed off a lot of people. Feel free to put your
Fuck 'em.
rage
Tell
in
us.
there.
Tell us.
We
Let's start
we
a fight.
apologize. Trust us when we say we love everyone's opinions. It doesn't mean you're right, but we still love you.
Oh,
So
fucking get 'em,
until
host.
next time, stay super.